We can just start. We'll just start now. This is the podcast. Yeah. All right. Hey guys, welcome to the No Name Wedding Podcast.
Thank you.
It's
a working title. Is that right? It's a working title.
I reckon No Name sounds good.
Yeah. Open to suggestions.
I think it's very good. Zach's sitting over there with his friends.
Yeah. So, hey, look at me, guys.
How's it going, buddy?
Yeah, good, really good. So anyway, this is episode number 1. And today we've got a hot topic that's going around the wedding forums on Facebook at the moment, which is the schmozzle with Andreas.
Instagram now too, though.
Is it on Instagram as well?
I'm getting messages of couples that are asking.
All right.
I don't know anything. So yeah. And I have photographers that have messaged me asking if I can do it because they've got messages of couples.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so
wow.
This is deep.
This is deep. So this is for those who don't know what we're talking about, this is the Andreas and Co. debacle, which is, I say, a fairly large videography and photography vendor in the wedding space, and they have gone bust. There's about 50 couples missing money, photos, videos, or all of the above. And some of them have been out of pocket of photos and videos for 3, 6, 9, 12, I think some of them up to 2 years now from just some of the messages I've seen.
Yeah.
So let's crack on with that. I know, Kirk, you prepared a bloody...
He's like, I'm not happy.
you got a presentation, mate. So let's
let me just pull up my PowerPoint
You know what, actually, I'll put these notes up on the screen editing. So if you want to, I can do it. Yeah.
I mean, Zach, you sort of brought us into it. The company's been investigated by Fair Trading, and it's probably worth pointing out that scams in the wedding industry is not like a new thing. Been around for a long time, hundreds, if not thousands of couples, probably thousands over the last 10 years have been affected, and vendors as well.
Yeah.
Vendors are getting ripped off, but mostly like couples, and it's really sad that people are getting taken advantage of on their special day. But it's a thing, and I think this one is just now reaching the mainstream because it is literally being like documented by mainstream media now. People are actually talking about it because it's gotten to the point where it's like we always kind of knew it was happening, but it's now like you'd be sending me a message every week. There's another one. There's another one. There's another one. So it's kind of like it's gone to the point where, okay, as an industry, like I'm a wedding filmmaker, you're a wedding filmmaker, Kath, wedding photographer, like we have to step up and do something because otherwise the government will step in and they'll just put overarching crazy regulation on this space and they're just going to like really ratchet down. So I think as an industry, we got to stand up and try and do what we can to stop this from happening again, or at least cramp down on it. The biggest thing I think that we can do is just inform people, like education, about, just some simple questions. I think that, bride and grooms can ask potential vendors, can steer them away from a lot of problems. So today we're going to talk about some questions to ask, some things to look out for, possibly some, best practices for industry about what we can do as vendors to make, customers and clients feel more comfortable because I think we have to, what has been happening is clearly not working because there's no accountability. People are getting ripped off left, right and center. So what is clear is the status quo isn't working. So we need to step up and make some changes. So we're going to talk about some best practices and some questions to ask, but also stick around to the end because we're going to talk about how we're going to try and do our little bit to have a positive impact and offer some free sort of wedding remake or wedding version 2 shoots for bride and grooms that have been affected by this shoot.
Totally, which is going to be super exciting. All right, let's kick on.
So
how do we? Let's do it, baby.
Kirky's on it.
All right.
What are we here for today?
I know. That's going to be the solo.
We're just going to have a coffee here.
Okay, well, let me... First of all, let's talk about how things are sort of normally done in the industry. Zach, I'll get you to talk about this. I'll lay the groundwork.
Sure.
And I'll get you to jump in. So, talk about how things are done now, like in terms of booking for photographers and videographers. So, like if you have a client that reaches out to you, like how do things normally work as like a one-man operation? You're the solo touch point for that company.
Yeah.
So how does it work? Someone reaches out to you.
Yeah, look, actually, most of the time now, my work is word of mouth. So it's all referral based. But then the second touch point off that is someone finding me on social media or Google, because of my Google reviews. But which I've been talking to Kath about recently. We're working on that one. Just don't post your home address on it again, right? You get some stalkers on there. But so that's essentially the way to go about it. But the thing with that is the couple or the clients, they are personally communicating with me.
Yep.
And essentially this isn't like being outsourced.
Because you're a one-person operation, and that's probably the biggest thing to look for is like Zach, me, Kath. We are one people operation, so we do all of the marketing. So we handle all of the, communicating with clients. We handle all the social media. We do all of the actual content creation, and we do all of the editing. So the different kinds of organizations you're going to run into is going to be like your one-man operation or your solopreneur, whatever you want to call it. And then you're going to have your companies as well that you deal with, right? So you've all talking about, obviously, with a one-person operation, you're going to have one touch point with the whole company, right? They're going to be the one answering the calls, doing the invoices, all that kind of stuff. As companies grow, they hire more people and they have people that specialize in different stuff. So talk to us about how that can be different versus if you're engaging with a company or a firm versus a one-man operation. How is it different?
As someone like myself or you guys, whoever is doing the marketing, whoever's doing the emailing, whoever you're talking to is pretty much who's going to be shooting the wedding. Obviously, they can have second shooters and things on board as well. But with these larger companies, they bring on, they attract people with the lower price points, obviously, they undercut the market. And then, obviously, they're going to have a fairly decent marketing team as well. And that's probably who you're going to be talking to, the marketing administration will kind of bring you in. And then, you may have a video call interview with probably the CEO or someone who's good at sales in that respect. And this obviously depends how big the company is. And then on the point of when your wedding day is going to be, you might get a nasty kind of shock. You're going to have two random people rock up. That'll be your videographer and photographer that you were like, hey, you guys, you weren't the people that had my interview with, where we grew that relationship with and, got those touch points. And so I think, did I kind of answer the question there? In a roundabout kind of way?
So I think with the fact that they can come in and undercut the market is based off the fact that they are going for efficiency when they hire because they have people that specialize in certain things. So they have someone whose their job is sales and they specialize in that and they get very good at that. And they become really efficient at that process. And that means that they, as a business, if they have everyone doing a specializing role, that's how they're able to save money.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's when none of these things are a bad thing.
No, this is how to scale a business.
That's exactly
for sure,
right.
as we do. We're all, we all run businesses and some of us run multiple businesses. But I think there is, I don't know, I'm kind of at the point now with wedding, videography and photography. I think the only way to really scale this properly because your work is a reflection and I can't just shoot a project and have someone overseas edit it and expect it to be, my work or kind of what maybe the couple have seen on my Instagram that I've had full control over because it will be different. Because
it would be easier to do that, right? Because imagine how much free time.
Totally. So the only real way to scale, and this is some of the famous videographers that I follow overseas who are big time. This is where I aspire to be. Instead of scaling kind of their business production, they just up their prices. They just they charge $20,000 a year, per wedding, and they just do 200 weddings.
Yeah.
And these are USD prices or prices, whatever, like 10,000, 20,000, whatever. Yeah. But that's how they scale their businesses. So I haven't yet seen a way where these big companies can scale kind of the wedding vendor service providers like videography and photography because it's such a personal, it's creative. Yeah. How do you can't scale that creativity and when it's so disjointed as well. And I'm kind of getting on a bit of a tangent here, but you think the person who you had your meeting with your husband or bride or whatever, and you think, oh, this guy's amazing, he gets me. And then on the day, you got two random videographers rock up, right? And then they shoot your wedding and they'll be two different contractors. They may not haven't even met. So there's a whole workflow thing there too, right? And then once you've got all the content from the day, then that's farmed out overseas. And then again, I shoot to edit. So when I'm shooting, there's a running timeline in my brain. It's putting everything together. I know what I need, I know what I haven't got, and I know how it all goes together. And then so then how does that person overseas know how to put what I'm shooting together? And then there's kind of templates you can follow on that. But I suppose they're kind of cookie cutter. Going to these big corporations like this Andreas and Co. shenanigans, it's kind of the cookie cutter approach to wedding films and photography, I think. Yeah. So, and don't get me wrong, it's in theory it's smart, but a creative, and don't get me wrong, I've got a clinic, a cosmetic clinic here that I own with my wife, and we're looking at scaling this.
Yeah.
But the way we scale this business and the way that I'm going to scale my videography service business is two different things, man.
Yep.
So it's two very different methods. And I don't think I could apply what I use for this business to my videography business, because it's not going to work, because you're going to kind of get this detachment.
From something that is inherently personal as well. Like you can't scale that personal connection.
Yeah.
And Kath, do you see the same thing with photos as well?
Absolutely.
Do you see people that just go in and just take a whole bunch of photos, or get a random turn up on the day, bunch of photos, and then offload that editing to somebody else?
It happens. There's a lot of companies that do it.
Yeah.
And I just think that takes away that personal experience.
Yeah.
Because I think people are paying for you as well.
Yeah.
As the photographer.
Yeah, totally.
They're not just paying for the work. They want someone to turn up and guide them how they're meant to go for the day.
Yeah.
And they hire you based off, like your Instagram and stuff, but it's about how, like Zach, how many times have you told me, it's not what you say to people, it's how you make them feel.
Exactly.
The decision for someone to ultimately hire you, Kath, as a photographer. Yeah. Like, yes, of course, your work is amazing. We know that. But it's like, how do you make them feel when you meet them?
I think that's the social media side too. You've got to really show up on social media now to sell you as part of the business.
Yeah, not just your content, right? So it's like, and it's not, it's just that. It's like, how do you work with other vendors?
Yeah,
right? Like you used to work amazingly well together, right?
Quickly. We did.
Right? And how much of a difference does that make when you're there on the actual wedding as a whole, when you two can work seamlessly together?
Yeah.
That has a really positive, uplifting effect.
Like for a personality to come along.
Exactly. So regardless of the content and the skills that you guys have, the soft skills of actually making the amazing content, it's about like, how do you guys work together?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
how do you work around all the other people at their wedding as well? So the danger of going with a company, again, bringing it back to like the two different kinds, the danger of going with the company that comes in with someone from the marketing and the sales department, and they say, look, we can do this for this price, and it seems a little bit too good to be true, and there's this reality as to why it's so cheap.
I had a friend who booked a wedding with a well-known photographer, and it was like $1,500 for a whole day. And she's well known, and she outsources her work.
Something doesn't make sense there, because it's way out of line with industry norms.
It sent me the whole gallery, and she's like, this is terrible, because obviously it's some sort of AI or overseas or something, and they're not working with white balance and everything.
Yep.
You know, you love white balance. You got to get the grey card out.
Yes.
And she's like, can you help me? Because it's just all then a very stock standard edit. So I think
and look, there's nothing wrong with this business model, but what I think
you need to be aware of it, right? There needs to be transparency.
It's it's at the end of the day, you can paint a turd gold, but you can be pure gold, but it's still a turd, right? So like, I'm not saying this this company is a turd in particular, right? Because they've run off, they've done the wrong thing, but I think we're going to see more of these business models come out, but I think it just needs to be transparency. It just needs to be like, if you're going to make cheap films and people are going to have 6-month wait times, and just be honest about that.
You need to be honest about that.
Just be honest about that.
There is a business for
that. Some random dude is going to come.
Because that's probably a lot that a lot of people can only afford that.
And
that's fine. Be transparent about that. Hey, we outsource. That's why we're able to give you a great price.
Totally.
Right? So I think what's really lacking is transparency in the industry. So what I would say, to bring it back to like, what can people do about this is, the biggest thing is, who are you hiring? You're not hiring the salesman or woman to be there with you on your day. You need to know, and this is what you need to ask. One of the first questions that you need to ask is who. Who's going to be there? Who's going to be there on my day? If it's not the person that you have the first touch point with the company with, that's no dramas. But you need to know and make a decision based on who that creator is. That's going to be there on the day, capture the content, and ultimately do the editing. You need to know who that is.
I think what's the next biggest thing that the client should be asking the vendor, and this is for a big company or a solo shooter like us, how long for the deliverables?
100%.
Because this is what one of my friends at the moment, Georgina, who we did our pre-wedding shoot for, she got married in Ibiza. She was kind of told a month, and she just got told 2 months later it's another 4 months away or something. You know what I mean? And apparently this guy is pretty reputable. He's really good, but again, transparency, man. Like, you can't tell someone a month or 2 months or 3 months.
If it's going to be 6, tell me it's going to be 6.
Like, here's what it is. Like,
And everyone's just wanted to cover their own ass and and just to try and like bring in as much work as they can. And it's like, I get that. But that makes it a zero-sum game. And all it does is bringing down the quality of what we offer. The whole industry gets dragged down because everyone's like, I can't lose that work. Well, if everyone just relaxed a little bit and focus on being a little bit more transparent.
And
I think as an industry, like, you know, under promise and over deliver rather than the other way around. You know what I mean? Which is definitely what's happening at the moment.
Totally. And the thing is, man, if you say, okay, save Georgina, right? This wedding film, I'm expecting big things. There's blood time, the time frame's blowing out. So it could be the most spectacular film in the world. But man, she's had to wait probably 6 months for this now. When she was originally told it's going to take her about 4 weeks. So that client experience, and there's the same thing in this clinic here. We can have the best cosmetic nurses in the world, but if the experience is shitty, it brings down everything. The same thing. It's client experience is super important.
That was a great one, and that's another one of the questions that I think I had in mind was to get people to ask how long.
How long?
And you know, how long does it take? And it's like with you, Kath, like photography, exactly the same thing.
Exactly.
You know, you can take the best photos ever. But you know, does it happen with photos as well, rather than just video?
No.
You have people waiting months and months and months for photos.
I worked with a photographer last weekend. She was really good, and she was like, "Oh, mate, when they outsource my photos, you know, it's a bit, I'm like, so yeah, that's a comeback."
And do you think that we're in a bit of a moment right now in the industry where it's like people have gone for efficiency and trying to keep the costs down and outsource as much as they can, and we're definitely sacrificing quality. Do you see us sort of swinging back to quality as an industry?
I definitely think so. I think we're going to swing back to quality, but then how do you scale quality? Which I think the only way to scale a business like that, apart from how I said before, you know, obviously increase your prices and just stay one-man band, is just getting like a team of creatives, like-minded, same vision, same ethos to work together. You can probably scale it that way. I think we are swinging back around to quality. But I think the most important thing with that is just the transparency. Because I think
quality takes longer. And it just needs to be communicated.
Totally. And don't get me wrong, like, again, back to the whole outsourcing thing, like, I'm all for it. Like, I shoot commercial stuff too. I love fucking that stuff right off, you know what I mean? Like corporate, commercial, boring, sterile, like, I don't need to be sitting there editing, but for something creative, if it's a project that's really creative, you know, and
personal and emotional,
totally.
Which is a wedding.
Totally. Or and there's some other projects that I've done that are corporate, or you know, commercial, but that have that element to it. Yeah, totally. Everything from the emails, from chatting to the person, I almost become friends with them. You know what I mean? And it's a relationship. It's a journey from shooting through to getting to deliverables, and it all goes through me. You know, and also part of that, it's disjointed. So,
and you would even know as well, Kath, like, or pretty much like every single photo, as you're sitting there like editing it after, you would know and be able to remember the feeling, the vibe of when you took that photo, right, and how you edit that photo would be a reflection of the energy in the moment, right? When you snap that shot and you got that amazing shot, how it looks, it's down to the editing. What do you do with that photo? There's a million different things you can do, but you know. Based on
what happened in that moment,
and what you want, like you're gonna lose that if you outsource. You simply it just can't. I think that's all those little 1%ers. That's why I feel like it's definitely going to swing back to quality, because over time I think quality always wins. And I think that how does that make you feel when you look at a photo? All those little things that computers can't do. Someone wouldn't outsource to a different country. That just can't happen. So
not same at all.
So one thing I had, and this is just like it's a simple one, but you know, it's 2024. This is video specific, but it's like, so for 2024, it's like the standard of everything is 4K. For resolution, right?
Yeah.
And the end product absolutely should be in 4K, which means we need to be shooting in 4K on the day. I don't think that is a surprise to anybody, but it's one of those little misnomers that might get lost in translation when people don't know to ask, what resolution can I expect my wedding film in? Like, not only, yes, it looks better, and when we look at it on bigger screens and stuff, 4K is the best, but why I think people would shoot in 1080p, and Zach, you've had an experience of this recently. Do you want to talk about why someone would shoot in 1080p over 4K in 2024?
Yeah, totally. So essentially, like 4K. Now you can shoot something in 1080 and export it in 4K, so it's a 4K video. But the reason why I shoot in 4K personally is because it gives me room to edit. So hypothetically, if I need to crop in on the groom when the tears are flowing down when his beautiful bride's walking down the aisle, you know, like, and I've got bloody Uncle Bob over here picking his nose, I can crop that out, and my picture might go from 4K to 2K, or I can crop it again, and then it goes all right. I can zoom in without degrading the quality of the image. It's going to be on your screen. But if you film in 1080. Well, then that's
you got nowhere to go.
You got to really know where to go, because the next step is like, I keep cropping in. I'm at 720 and by 480, and then we're back at bloody Nokia, whatever. You know, camera phones. Like,
we're there. Count the pixels.
Yeah, totally. So, it's the reason why, and kind of looping around to the bigger companies who do all the outsourcing, is its file sizes. Yep. The internet here in Australia is garbage, but essentially, you need to upload an entire wedding. If I film a wedding in 4K, that's half a terabyte of data. Yep. That's a lot, man. That's like no one in my street's getting internet for the next 3 days.
Yeah. And you couldn't outsource that to someone else, even if you wanted to. Short of handing them a hard drive.
Yeah, totally. And then they need to have a $10,000 computer to edit it, right? So that's another whole thing.
Yep.
But so like 1080 is just easy to work with.
Yep.
But you lose the ability for editing, post-processing, right? And then that means a less quality wedding film.
Yep. As a
and then what do you pay for?
Exactly. So one of the things is ask the question. If they're going to say, look, we only do 1080p, and that's reflected in our price, fine. Yeah. Transparency. I view it as a great filter because most high-end cameras these days can shoot 4K. But if someone actually can't shoot in 4K because their gear doesn't allow for it, that's pretty terrible in 2024.
Yeah.
But also, it's a filtering thing because if someone's going to be, if they say, no, we insist on shooting in 1080p, chances are it's because that they want to outsource it, right? Yep. So if you say, I know 4K is my standard, that's going to filter out a lot of people that don't have the gear to the really high end gear, which to be honest these days is most cameras can film in 4K. But it's also then going to filter out anyone that's like, we were really hoping to film in 1080, so we can we can upload that onto the cloud and we can outsource that editing process. So as a filtering mechanism, I think one of the questions you should be asking is, what resolution can I expect? And 4K is the standard. And if it's anything else or anything less than, then there's probably a reason why.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So
is there anything like that with photos or not really? Just because the files, I suppose, are so much
RAW and JPEG, there's a big difference.
Yeah. I only shoot in RAW because that gives you all details to edit with. But
it's about 50 megabyte in a RAW image, It's quite big.
It's quite big.
And then you shoot 2,000 of those.
I need a new hard drive. That just reminds me.
And what does the client get at the end of it? Do you export it in what format?
I don't know. What do I export? It's JPEG. End of the day, it's a JPEG. But it's a compressed RAW. So I've done all the editing at the RAW, and then the JPEG is for sharing.
I think every camera has their own version of RAW. A bit like Canon log is C-Log and all that sort of shit.
Okay. So that's cool.
Yeah. Questions we got there, Kirky?
You could even speak about equipment. End of the day, what kind of equipment? As a backup, if something goes wrong, ask your vendors. What are you going to bring?
Yep.
Have you got backup plans?
Yes. No, that's great. That is a great point. That's a great point. And Zach, you know these pain points, particularly with audio. Right?
Yeah.
Talk about your sort of redundancy plan as someone who's an established filmmaker.
How
do you approach, even just audio alone, but maybe talk about video and audio just for a second. But what do you do to ensure that you've got redundancy
besides the 20 cameras that you've got?
Besides those, but to make sure that without doubt, no matter what happens, that you're covered. Tell us about your sort of mindset for this. And
totally. So I think at bare minimum, you need a 2-camera setup, right? So I roll with a 3 to 4, sometimes 5 to 6 when we shoot together as well. So that's better. And I learned recently from a Catholic Orthodox wedding. They move around in that cathedral, man. So you need a few, but I start with that, and then obviously you want a gimbal, tripod, and actually I might circle back to the cameras. The reason why you have so many cameras is you need multiple different angles, but you also need redundancies. You drop a dude. We've gone through a camera on set before. Not to bring it up or embarrass Kirk, but to cut a long story short, I told Kirk not to put his camera up on this bar table because I said someone will knock it off. And then in the heat of the moment, I put it up there and Kirk bumps the table. So it's all good.
I almost had
and it's all right. Insurance covered it. I thought I had a pocket $100. It's fine.
But you had backups.
It wasn't a deal breaker.
That wasn't a deal breaker at all. I actually threw the camera to the side. I was like, I don't even like that camera anyway. Who cares? Who cares, right?
Another one.
It's all good.
But redundancy, right? It wasn't. If you only had the minimum, a 2-camera setup, and you lost one, you're in trouble.
You need 2 cameras for the ceremony.
So there's redundancy there. Where else do you have redundancy in your setup?
So I roll 2 tripods and a gimbal, obviously different looks and things like that. But the most important thing, probably if not more important than the visuals, is audio. So with audio, man, I run these labs that I'm using now because my third mic didn't arrive. So we run.
How'd that
what
go
we do, yeah. We'll ask her how they go. But the inside joke, all right, we keep this PG, this one. Yeah, so essentially what I'll do, so I'll essentially run 3 redundancies. So I'll have the first point of audio is laving up the bride if she wants it. And that's going to be like a white little battery pack or lav. It's Zoom F2, amazing 32-bit float, which just means raw audio. I get the most out of it. And they're all recorded onto their own SD cards, so there's no interference from microwaves or Bluetooth disconnecting or something, which is great.
Yep.
And then I'll run one on the Celebrant, whoever's talking, Celebrant and the GROOM.
Yep.
So there's 3 there. And then what I'll do now, I've got 2 Zoom F1s. They're 24-bit audio, but it's more than enough, and they record stereo. So I've got 2 of them. They have 2 32-bit cards in them, and then I just place them wherever I think people are going to go and be close to. So then that's the next best option.
So they record just ambient sound.
Yeah.
Close to the device.
Close enough. I can work that audio into something sounding really nice.
Okay.
And then
so there's 2 layers.
There's 2 layers,
And
and
there's
my third
more?
layer, which is the one I use first.
Yes.
So I've kind of done it backwards.
Yep.
Is using the Zoom F3, which is plugging into the auxiliary port of, say, the speaker, the PA system of the Celebrant and DJ.
The microphone
Yeah.
itself. Yep.
And then I run the same thing for speeches as well. So, you want backups and backups, man. So,
So for those that are listening, like that's when you ask someone, tell me about your redundancy plan for audio and for video. It should sound something like what Zach just said there. It doesn't have to be exactly that, but the point is there needs to be a plan and then there needs to be backup because spoken audio is really the key for a really nice wedding film.
Why don't at the end of this podcast, why don't we just put a Google Drive link to a PDF attachment? Questions asked. Just so that they can go straight to it after this. Yeah.
I'll whip that up.
And that's amazing, man. Yeah. And then it can just go bang.
Good idea.
Print it out and take it to your meeting and go, hey.
No, 100%. Great idea. Because
do it as a checklist.
Totally.
And you, as a client, that's looking to get married, you don't need to know all the ins and outs of, the technicals of recording audio and video.
Yep.
Or taking photos.
Yeah.
But
no. You need to know that they've got a backup plan.
Yes. When you
they
ask
don't
them,
need to tell you the details of everything.
If they just give you some waffly answer and you don't need to know anything about anything, and you can just go, they don't really have a plan. They're just kind of making this shit up.
And what about photography? Like, what's the? Can you just roll a camera?
So I have 2 dual slot cameras at all times running. I got the Canon R6s, so they're awesome. And then I've got just a backup EOS R. It's a single slot, but it's my emergency.
Yeah, totally.
There you go. So there's redundancy there as well.
You need to have, because you're always going to need that.
And guys, don't hold the whole Canon thing against her. All right, we've been through this. We're converting her to Sony. We're going to get her into the Sony cult.
At least it's not Nikon.
All right,
I could be really at the bottom of the barrel.
Dude, mate, Nikon. When I saw that Nikon get pulled out the other day, and there's 2 types of people I don't trust. People, terrorists.
Cat people.
All 3. Terrorists, cat people, and Nikon shooters.
And Nikon shooters, they're at the bottom. Yeah.
Totally right.
Oh, yes.
So, okay, right.
2 flashes.
So you need backup. So you can carry 2 flashes. That's really interesting, right?
So I leave my third body and my extra flash in the car.
Mine
is more of an issue of like the horseshoe braking that goes.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
It happens to be Godoxes. It does. They're connected to the top of the
it's
camera.
a weak point.
It is a weak point. So can you imagine being right at the end of a reception and all of a sudden it shoots? Like, I'm not going to carry it on my second body because it's heavy as shit.
But you've got
it's
it
in the car, ready to go.
It.
So that's my backup plan.
It's
3
cheap.
cameras,
It's
2
insurance,
flashes.
right? You hope you never need these things. But
Don't book a photographer if they're like, I've got 1 camera and it's a single slot.
Yes.
What are you going to do?
And so you shoot your record as well? You shoot dual record, so onto 2 SD cards at the same time.
And
so that's another thing.
Dual recording.
That's another thing that Zach and I always do is always shoot dual record.
Always, because if you get corruption, which we spoke about last time,
it happens.
SD card, you've got that backup. So
and that's like the worst thing that can happen.
Oh, and it does happen. It actually happens more than people realize.
It's happened. Yeah, it's happened to me.
It's such a small. It's no good. No good when you pop
and there's
in
no
and
going
like,
back. That's not like I got the footage is really grainy because I used too much ISO and I can kind of try and massage it.
It's not like a family session. You can be like, look, I effed up.
Yeah.
My technology.
Can we do that? There's no redos.
Again.
Yeah.
You can't redo a wedding.
If as a photographer or a videographer, people have been sued for, say their car got broken into and someone stole a camera gear with the cards in it, or their card's corrupt or something. Like, that happens, man. Like, people have been sued and they've had to pay reimbursements of the price to get, the makeup artist back, the dress, dry cleaned, all that sort of stuff, and the
Even my cards
venue
stay
and
on
things
me.
like
My
that.
cards, I don't even leave my cards in the bag or the car. Like the bags in the bridal suite, that's not even in there. Like those cards are on me.
Have you had a bad experience? Like what's taught you to do that? Or you just like, I just know how
logical.
important this
like
is?
You've just seen it happen.
Yeah.
I feel like I've had a corrupt card before, and it's fine because I've got the second card anyway.
Yeah.
But it's just more of a I'm preempting for a wedding.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not risking that.
You just got to back it up.
I've got to
ASAP.
back up.
Yeah, you got to back it up.
You've got to have it in play.
Yes. Yeah, that makes
Just hope it never happens, but it can happen. Like I was at a wedding elopement recently, and my camera shut down on me. Like shut down.
Yeah.
And it was the lens that was the problem.
Yeah.
But lucky I had the other camera hanging out. Actually, it was in the car, but I went and grabbed it.
Yeah. Oh, you got it on it. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah.
I was like, it's a really small elopement. It'll be fine with one camera. And it happens.
Yeah.
And it just stopped working. So I think making sure you've got that backup there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you've missed the rest of the wedding, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's disaster.
It's pure disaster.
Yeah, cool. No, that's great. So I
Yeah.
think that's some really good questions that people can ask. And
Yeah.
again, I'll make a PDF,
Yeah,
a checklist.
Yeah,
Unless there's any other questions that you guys would like to add or...
No, I think that's contracts.
Oh, what about
to sign?
how long? When can people expect to get their stuff?
Yeah, I think discuss it.
Yeah.
And then sign off on a contract as well. Both signed
Yeah,
by both
of course.
parties.
Yeah, contracts for sure. Yeah.
And then have a
text them,
backup
text
for
you.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
sure.
like if this isn't in that time, what's the leeway? Do we have a conversation about it, or what can you offer in to assist as a background? So,
Kath, as a photographer, what is the kind of like industry norms-ish that people can expect when they go and they want to hire a photographer? What's the general range that they should expect to hear when they ask how long is it going to take for me to get
I
all
reckon
made?
4 weeks.
4 weeks?
4 to 6 maximum,
4 to
depending on
6,
how
yeah.
busy you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's
Yeah.
4 weeks. Normally I do a lot of backlog coming in as well, but I always have it out within 4 weeks.
Yeah, okay.
So
Yeah.
And Zach, what about
Yeah.
for video? What do people should expect as the industry norm?
Yeah. Oh man, that varies,
that's hard.
but
for
yeah.
video. That can be months.
So it depends how I'm gonna say
you
it
hand
doesn't.
it out quick.
I do, but I prioritize it.
Yeah.
And
The
again,
wedding
we
is
spoke about this
priority.
recently. It's just being efficient,
Efficiency.
But
A few late nights.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
A couple, 100%.
ones.
But no, fuck, what was the question? I just forgot.
How
Hang on, what was that?
how long should people expect to wait for the average wedding film?
Yeah,
What's the
right.
industry norm?
So for me personally, I for your wedding film is about 4 weeks, and that'll be like a highlight trailer, and maybe
Which is
if you
how
got
long, roughly?
about 7 to 9 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's just like all the highlights of the day.
Even
kind
sneak
of.
peeks. When do you sneak peek?
Yeah,
Like, I do
my
next
sneak
day.
peek. I try to
Yeah.
get my sneak peek. So on my contract it says
Yep.
within 3 days. I
days.
generally roll that out within 24 hours.
Yep.
I'm
Mine says
still.
3 as well.
And that's
Yeah.
like a
So
1
next
minute,
day.
like a...
Yeah, that's
About
like
a
a
1
30
minute
second,
long
a 60
little
second.
teaser film, right?
Yeah,
Like
totally.
a
It just gives
little
you
sneak peek.
something
Yeah.
after
Yep.
your wedding.
Something they can share. Something
Yeah,
they can-
totally. But look, that's me personally, and that comes at a sacrifice. I generally say if I film a wedding on a Saturday, I spend the next half, 4 hours the next day, doing the teaser trailer instead of hanging out with my 2-year-old. So it all comes at a cost. So
Yeah.
so you know what I mean. Like some other people might not do that, but
And
but yeah.
Kath, you do something similar as well, don't you?
Yeah,
with
sneak
photos?
peeks about 30
About 30
the next
images,
day,
yeah.
30
and
images,
then within 4 weeks they've got the whole gallery. So
Yeah, okay.
it's just enough that
Yeah.
they can share. They can
Yep.
reminisce on the day. And,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
if there was an industry standard, I'd say for a wedding film, up to 3 months.
3 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be, I think 4 to 6 weeks.
Unless you're in the
would be
top
normal.
tier kind of like guys that I want to emulate and get to one day.
Yeah.
They're like 6 months in advance.
Yeah.
Like, they're
But,
6 months
but,
out.
but what is the...
Yeah.
How many hours has gone into it and what does
Yeah.
the end result look like?
I
The
think
end
It's
result-
a full feature film, basically, isn't it? Like
yeah, or
it's-
some of them are still only highlight trailers, man. But they're just so highly sought. They're just so booked out.
Yeah.
It's just busy restaurant. They are so booked out. It's kind of like that, those little dinky restaurants you see, and there's a line down the
Yeah,
road.
yeah,
You're
and there's
"Who-"
like 10,
everyone's waiting to go
There's
in
like
there.
10 chairs in there.
Yeah,
and
totally.
They're just
But
always
everyone, people wait 4 hours at the front to get there. Or like,
Yeah.
remember when iPhone was cool, and everyone
Yeah.
camped
Yeah,
out
yeah.
3 days
Yeah,
just to
yeah,
get a new
yeah.
iPhone. Yeah.
Sitting out the
Just
front of
online.
Apple.
There-
Yeah.
There's that with these,
Yep.
in particular filmmakers. Yeah, they're amazing. So,
And I think
But
your
the-
time will adjust.
Yeah.
People will know
Yeah,
that going
depending
into it.
oh,
right?
they do.
You
know.
would
And
think
you have
that
to
they would
pay
say,
them
Yeah.
up front too. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like full
Yeah.
out. So. But you
Yeah.
do. They are very, and they're so good with, obviously they built the know, like, and trust factor with the community,
Yep.
and they're extremely good at what they do. So they can charge what they want, and they can do things how they want. But
people will pay it.
but at the end of the day, they are a key person risk, which is
Yeah.
on the flip side the worst thing for a business, because if they stop working, you stop making money.
Yep.
So yeah, but at the same time, they can charge what they want because they do what they do. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're amazing and they've
Yeah.
probably spent 10,
Yeah.
20 years getting to that point. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't take that away from
Yeah,
them.
but I think you just need to know expectations. Like
And again,
Upfront.
transparency.
transparency.
Very,
Yeah.
If someone promises you a full 20-minute feature wedding film in 2 weeks, then you can probably go, that doesn't sound right. So we've talked about, the who's filming your wedding film.
Yep.
We've talked about like what are the gear they're going to be using, what's the redundancy. We talked about when. So these are sort of simple questions and way to frame it.
Yeah.
A contentious one is money.
Yeah.
How, when are people being paid? Because I think there's obviously two different ways to look at this. As you said, Zach, you can still man this either way. One of the things that enables these unfortunate scams to happen, and the reason that these couples have no recourse and all they can do is kind of just wait, is the fact that they've paid the vendors the full balance, and now they're just kind of, and they there's trust in that, and they're just kind of waiting, and they have no recourse. So, Zach, tell us about how, from a payment perspective, what's kind of the industry norm?
Yeah, so what's the industry norm? And like, I don't know who set these standards, but this is kind of like the standards for video anyway, which I said probably the same for you anyway. But so what I do, which is what I thought was the industry norm, is I do 50% once we decide that they're going to come on with me, and whether it's 3 months out, 6 months out, a year out, 50% up front. And then I do 50% of the payment 2 weeks before the wedding. So by the time I get to the wedding, everything's paid.
Yep. Now,
look, if you're a shit person, like obviously the ball's in the vendor's court. So, you kind of, the couple's at their mercy. But don't get me wrong, there's obviously governmental things that can step into place, like consumer law and stuff. Like, you can't just run off with the money these days. But also, it's not that easy to sue someone or go after someone either. Like, it's a long process. So, look, industry standards 50%. What I think, or it can be anywhere from 25% and maybe 75% at 2 weeks.
Generally speaking, though, that the full balance has been paid.
100%, yeah.
At
100%
least prior to the
for sure.
to the
for
wedding
sure.
day. Is that the same with
Absolutely,
photo?
2 weeks before.
Yeah.
I just have a lot smaller, but
We're
I've
working on
upped
that
it
one.
a little bit. But
Yeah.
I think, you got to work in with the 2024, everyone's financial status as well. So
Yeah, of course.
to work what they can afford up front and just be honest. Again, transparency. If you contract it.
So that's the norm. But you wanted to attack this.
No, not attack. I just because I think to some extent what we're doing as an industry, the bad actors unfortunately are the spotlight's on the industry as a whole because of these bad actors at the moment.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons that they're able to do this is because of the fact that they're already paid up front. So if vendors do want it a way to stand out, and again, this is all just down to a conversation. Is with the vendor and the clients, is how much you're going to pay and when. So there's lots of different ways. You can, if you're a vendor and you say, look, I want to help you feel more comfortable, given the fact that there's all these scams going around, and I want to put a little bit of power back into the client's hand and maybe accept a little bit of risk on myself, is I can say, look, I'm going to not insist on 100% payment before the wedding. Maybe it's 75 or 50 or whatever that number is. There's a conversation there, and there's a way to differentiate yourself as a creator. If you decide to give people a little bit of a peace of mind, given the fact that where we're at, and we know we're going to do the job. We're all gonna fulfill our promises, but I think there's a chance here to stand out and to give people a little bit of peace of mind, just given the fact that, as an industry, we've got some work to do to rebuild the trust.
So Zach and I do, for weddings, we actually offer engagement sessions before a wedding as well.
Yes.
So to do a quick little video, which is what you do, and I do engagement photos.
Yep.
I think that creates some comfort as well.
And some trust, as well.
Yeah, there was
the
like a trust
100%.
factor. And they're
it's
complimentary. So
complimentary,
we should actually said it at the start, but
should have. But I think that creates a bit of a comfort for the clients.
And it's kind of a bit of a test run as well for like how you're going to, not only how you guys are going to mesh with the clients, but they can kind of see how you guys work together. And they get a little bit of a taste as to how things are going to be on the actual day.
Like, gee, we got this for free.
It's a no stress.
Right?
Exactly. And the
Yeah.
end result is amazing, but it's also probably a real peace of mind for them because like, oh wow.
Yeah,
Like
I know.
they just made us feel really good.
Yeah.
And again, Zach, it's exactly what you've always said. It's about how you make people feel, not
Yeah,
what you
for sure.
say.
For sure. So saying that, I've never had pushback with payment, but I do with everything that's going on. There could be a better way for sure. And like, not that I'm probably the biggest fan of it, but overall, you know, if we can change the industry. So maybe you were saying that getting some type of like financial apps or something that release.
I think that would be a last resort.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
For example, if you wanted to remove quote unquote trust from the transaction completely, you would have an intermediary which acts like a broker that holds the money.
Yeah.
But again, that then requires the client to pay this third party 100%.
Yeah.
And then the this third party payment provider, this essentially would release money to the creator, to the vendor, given certain KPIs or certain things that have been ticked off as per the contract.
Yeah.
You know, so or it'd be like 2 weeks before the wedding, you know, a certain amount is released. And then once the highlight trailer is released, maybe they get some more or in stages. So I think that would be a last resort because that would pretty much be us just saying, we can't be trusted. You know, we need someone to do this for us. So that would be probably more of an extreme step, I reckon. But I think as vendors, people have the option to adjust those, you know, how the payments are made and when. So, I mean, a lot of people are going to decide to stay with the status quo and then it's totally fine. But I think the biggest thing, again, is just transparency.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Again,
Building trust.
building trust, ask the question, how is it going to work?
Yeah.
If you ask someone, what is their, how does the payment schedule work? And if they tell you it's all paid up before the wedding and you say, cool, then sweet. There's no problems with that.
Yeah.
I think where the problems become is where the transparency isn't there and people sort of maybe get a bill when they're not expecting it. Or if they get told something else, they get told something and then, you know, they get a rude shock 2 weeks before the wedding and the vendor's asking for more money. So I think it all comes down to transparency again. At the start, I said, you know, keep listening to the end to find out how, if you were one of the couples that were affected by this latest round of scams, you could go on the chance to win a full bride and groom wedding shoot. And we know we can't replace your wedding day, but this is the best that we can do and the closest that we can give you. We're going to give 5 lucky couples the chance to put their dress on again, put their suit on again with a full complimentary hair and makeup package. And we're going to try and recapture some of those lost memories, you know, because it's pretty clear. It seems like, you know, people that have been waiting months and months, that they most likely aren't going to be getting anything from this company in particular. So if you are a couple that has been affected by this latest round of scams, we would like you to reach out to us. And I'll put my contact details in the description, but my email is kirk@woolstonfilms.com. I'd like you to reach out to me and express your interest. We will be doing a full bride and groom shoot for 5 lucky couples, complimentary hair and makeup package. Going back to the questions that you need to ask, any wedding vendor, who's going to be doing the shooting and the editing? Well, that's us. Me and Zach will be doing the video. Kath will be doing the photo. Okay, these are the faces that you're going to be seeing, working with, speaking to on the phone, and they'll be delivering your final product. The when, all content will be finished and delivered within 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, and that includes a highlight set of photos and videos within 3 days. And obviously the cost, there's no cost to worry about. So what do we need to make this happen? This is the part where we ask for help from the industry. Yeah. Right? We need wedding venues.
Venue. Yeah.
To step up and to offer their venue up so we can do this shoot. We need a handful of venues around Sydney to offer to be a part of this. Please reach out to us if you'd like to be a part of it. We need other vendors. So we need makeup artists. Yep. We need hairdressers, hairstylists to step up and offer their time for free, like we are as well, for these 5 shoots. So again, if you are any of those groups of people that would like to help out, please contact me via the email address I mentioned before, kirk@woolstonfilms.com, and we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, and just to also recap too, all the vendors involved will get all the content as well. So yeah, that's kind of
you can use
the payment. Yeah, so all the content's used for our marketing, and we'll make sure that everyone looks good. You know, like
We'll get some
Sally's
shots
doing their
of-
hair, we'll
yeah.
get some nice shots of
Yeah,
Sally doing
yeah,
her
and
hair and stuff,
that's what we do. Like
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
all
That's fine.
pride ourselves, I think, especially on working really well with other vendors, and we've got a track record of,
Yeah.
of doing that. You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not just about capturing and making the clients feel good. You
Yeah,
know,
the vendors
we
do it too.
do always make a huge effort with the other vendors, and that we're pretty proud of that. So that'll be a big part of this as well, and that's the goodwill that we're offering. You know,
Yeah. So
potential
essentially,
vendors to be a part of.
instead of around 50 photos,
Yeah.
60-second highlight trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah, good to go
That's-
per
that's
couple.
good to go. Yeah.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. All right, guys. Anything
Yeah.
else you want to add?
No, we'll work on the dates and
Yeah. Again, so
Yeah.
reach out to me if you are a vendor or a venue and you would like to help, or if you are a couple that's been affected by one of these wedding scams and you would like a chance to recapture some of those lost memories.
yeah.
And
reach out to us.
location-wise, Sydney, happy to do Central Coast,
Yes, South
kind of like
Coast.
South Coast, somewhere within,
Yeah.
yeah.
Depending on where.
Our home base is Sydney, South Coast.
Yeah, I'm in South Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got the whole of Sydney pretty much covered. So, and we'll try and, depending on where the venues are,
Yeah.
we can stack probably a couple
Yep.
of shoots in one day. So we'll make it the most efficient way possible. But
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
if you want to be a part of this, reach out.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's it.
That's it.
Let's
We're
just do the
done.
outro again. So, guys, we'll just be sitting here for 20 minutes trying to think of a name, but we're still going to roll with the no-name
Wedding
podcast, wedding
yeah.
podcast for now.
We'll work it out.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was a good discussion, crew. Really enjoyed that. We've got
chat.
another 2 episodes coming up. Make sure you're following us on Spotify
Yep.
and Apple, Google, all that jazz.
Everything.
We're going to be doing clips on TikTok and Instagram. All links will be in the descriptions below. And until the next podcast, let's tune out.
Thanks, guys. That's
Hey,
fine.
Root.
Yeah, great. I know.